Good morning. Buenos dias. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control. Welcome to Cafecito con HACE, where this year at HACE, our theme is Avanza, Advancing Positive Impact. HACE is a national organization whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the community of talent, providing the insight, access, and support to be successful in their career. This year, we are featuring our theme of advancing positive impact at our National Leadership Summit and Awards celebration, our Sembrando el Futuro annual award celebration next week. So we're looking forward to seeing many of you in person and virtual for those of you joining us virtually. Where we'll be talking about advancing employee equity, advancing careers, advancing social responsibility, ensuring that we are promoting inclusive and equitable spaces for everyone. And so looking forward to that. Welcome to all of our guests, and drop in, let us know where you are tuning in from, and use this opportunity to engage and to connect with one another. Ask questions and make sure that we are providing a space to engage in this very important topic, that very hot topic that we have today on mental health. We have a special guest that's joining us. And also we'll have this topic for next week where we'll be taking a deeper dive there as well. And for those of you I haven't had a chance to connect, I should say my name is Patricia Mota and I serve as president and CEO of HACE, and proud to serve in this capacity, leading such wonderful mission. And so I want to introduce Juliana Londoño, who is our licensed mental health therapist at Juliana Londoño LLC. She is also an alumna of our Emerging Latino Leaders, or ELP, or now known as our Elevando Leadership Program. Juliana, good morning. How are you today?
Buenos dias, Patricia. Muchas gracias. I am well. I am excited because, as you mentioned, this is a hot, steaming hot topic today. So I'm ready to go.
Steaming hot? Is your cafe steaming hot today?
So I went with water because...
First, that's my question for you. What's your morning beverage of choice?
So I am on the East Coast, so it is 11 a.m. here. I already had my cafecito bright and early this morning, but that would be my beverage of choice. If Juliana does not have her cafecito, it is not a good day, not just for me, but for anybody.
Yeah, and how do you prepare your cafecito?
My cafecito, I have my own coffee beans from Colombia. Given that I am from Colombia, I have my own coffee beans. I grind them every morning, and I have just straight black coffee, no milk, no sugar.
I love that. I love when you can taste the coffees and it's from your country. So we have Colombia in the house. Those of you tuning in, let us know, how do you like your cafe? And share with us, about your background. We got some green tea drinkers here. Water, depending on the time of day as well. Mm-hmm. So, Juliana, one of the things that I love about our Cafecito con HACE is being able to connect and learn stories about how folks got to where they are in their careers, their cultural background. So please share with our audience, how did you get to what you're doing today and your background?
Absolutely. So I'm a very proud first-gen everything. First in my family to pursue education in the U.S., get my bachelor's, go on and get my master's, and now go on and start my own business. So it has been quite the journey. So not only am I a licensed mental health therapist in the state of New Jersey, I started my business to focus on three things: the education, awareness, and resources on the intersect of mental health and the Latino community. There's not enough therapists of color across the country. There's not enough therapists that speak nuestro idioma, that understand our culture. So I started my business to really focus on that intersect, because it is allowed and it is in our faces, and it's time that we address it. And HACE is doing a phenomenal job bringing this conversation to the table.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Lots of firsts there.
Yes.
And you mentioned, right, this is just a need for that cultural relevant type of resources, whether it's in the mental health field and education, right? There's so many aspects. And so, and it's critical also to have more of the entrepreneurs. And so lots of firsts that you shared. And I know a lot of folks that are either joining can relate with that. This month is National Stress Awareness Month. I know a lot of folks and us that, we've got a big event coming up next week. So a lot of the staff, right? There's a lot of stress and anxiety that comes with that. But just in our personal lives and just in society at large, there's a lot going on, which is why I always like to start off with this cafecito, and even telling myself every single day is to focus on what you can control. But it's important to understand the role that mental health plays as it pertains to stress, and specifically for our Latinx community and marginalized communities. So tell us more about the important role of mental health.
Absolutely. So mental health, and I love to share this, we all have mental health. We don't need a mental health diagnosis to have mental health. You don't need to see a therapist to have mental health. You already have mental health, right? So how are you bringing that awareness to the forefront? Because if not, it is going to impact who you are as an employee, as a colleague, as a friend, as a parent, as a coach, right? In all of these different areas of your life. So observing, how am I stressed, right? Me estreso de cierta manera. So whether that is when I get stressed, I realize I have really short patience. Or when I am stressed, I realize I missed all the deadlines and now I need to have a conversation with my boss or my supervisor. So really honing in and being attentive as to how does our body react to stress? Because it's going to be unique to every single person. And then, right, understanding, okay, is this a situation that I can control or is it one that I can't? And the reason that that's so difficult, not just for Latinos, but for people everywhere, it's because we like to think of situations in black and white. And the world is gray. And that is so very hard for so many of us. So being okay with a little bit of no sé qué va a pasar, we're living in the gray, we're going through it, and knowing again how to address it for how it comes up for you.
The self-awareness piece is super critical, right? I think that's such an important first step for so many aspects in our lives. And I love, and even in our leadership programs, right, at ASA, we always talk about understanding your strengths, your capabilities, how your culture, how you identify, and how your stressors, right? What are the things that stress you, and how do you building that self-awareness? And then the second piece that you mentioned, which I absolutely love, is that control, understanding what is the things and taking things on a day by day, right? And not trying not to, I think, focus on the things that you cannot, because that's hard. So folks that are tuning in, I know there's a lot of thoughts, perhaps that's coming to mind for you. So, please share your comments, any questions that you have, because we definitely, we have a short time with Juliana here. This video will continue. We want to make sure the engagement continues from here on after, because this is a hot topic, and especially for a community that I think when you talk about mental health is there's a stigmatized, right? And so we want to normalize that as well. Juliana, your business focuses on the intersectionality. You talked about mental health, the community, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color communities. Can you share your approach on what you mentioned regarding creating more awareness and education around this topic?
Absolutely. The reason why this is critical now more than ever, right? We know what the numbers are for Latinos in the US. We know that we are going to outgrow any other ethnic group. We already are. So how are we getting folks in this already mainly predominantly white, affluent women field? How are we getting more Latino representation, BIPOC representation in the field? But not only that, increasing the access to this resource, to therapy, to seeing a psychiatrist, to seeing a psychologist. So really, it has been an incredible journey, because unless we know about it, we can't do anything with the information that we don't know. So for me, whether that is coming to a big conference and speaking, whether it's talking for a BRG or an ERG group, it really is about how can we elevate and have these conversations, not just in this moment, but how can we go home and talk about this with our families? How can we go back to our place of employment and have this conversation of salud mental, of stress, of emotional intelligence in our workplaces? Because in the end, right, if we have good mental health and it's stable, we're going to be better individuals. And if we're better individuals, we're going to foster a healthier community. And that's what we as Latino need. We need to come together and recognize, hey, there's this thing called mental health that we've been keeping at an arm's distance for way too long. Let's start talking and let's start having these conversations in a way that feels appropriate, healthy, and comfortable.
In ways that feel appropriate, healthy, and comfortable. I think that's so key as well. I know we want to open it up for questions, but I can imagine, I just given the work that you do, you have what recommendations or tips you have like on a daily basis. Like, let's say, I'm feeling a lot of stress for next week. We have a big event. There's still a lot of moving parts, loops that need to be closed. What recommendations do you have?
The recommendations are going to be no different than I'm sure what most of us have heard. And it's 3 things, and they're all free. So tune in, everybody. Are you sleeping well? Are you getting sufficient sleep? 8 to 10 hours for adults. Are you eating a healthy-ish balanced diet? And that's really hard, right? El arroz para mí, oh my gosh, it's so hard. I can't. I need a little bit of it, and that's okay. But a healthy, balanced diet. Y también, are you getting any type of movement? 10, 15 minutes of a walk is so critical, right? There is the data that backs up. If we focus on these 3 things, sleeping, eating, getting exercise, we are going to feel better. Mm-hmm. We are going to be able to manage our stress in a healthier capacity and not engage in unhealthy coping skills. Unhealthy coping skills could be anything from working till midnight. It can be anything like saying, I'm going to overwork myself and take on way more than I should. It could also be just, hey, I am going to not show up to work today because I'm so stressed and I feel paralyzed. Right? So doing these small things on a daily basis and that consistency is what is key. And I hope that is a big takeaway for folks, that there is data that is backing this up. We can all do it. We can all step outside. The weather's getting nicer. Step outside, get some sunlight, get some steps in.
Yeah. I think there's a lot on that, right? And I think it's finding out what's the best approach to you, and like the eating, right? I know we had an event with some of our alumni this past week, and a nutritionist there that talked about what are some healthy alternatives to the things that like the foods that we like, right? And I know one of the the different healthy alternatives is looking at how do we get more fruits and veggies, right? And incorporating that into our diets. The getting the exercise in, the walking, being active, especially if we're in remote jobs, you need to make sure you're plugging in. I think I was reading, I'm taking a phone call, maybe walking and taking being that way. And so trying to be creative throughout your day to plug that in. I'm guilty of the not sleeping as great. I think that's a work in progress for me, because that one is a tough one. So for sure. We'll take any questions that folks will have. And as we wait for that, anything you want to add in terms of your own personal experience with managing your own mental health?
Yeah. So for me, and I think you really honed in on it, Patricia. For me, I found a new passion, and I figure skate. I picked it up as an adult, and it was a lifelong dream. I wanted to be ice princess as a little girl. It's a very expensive sport, and now as an adult, I said, let me actually embrace my inner child. And I go literally today at 1 p.m. I will be figure skating, and that's what I do weekly.
I love that. And you just picked it up like this year or last?
It's been 15 months of figure skating consistently. 15 months consistently.
Wow, that's awesome. I think it's being able to tune into your inner child. I love that you said that, because I think the times that I try to self-reflect is always taking back this like, well, what would like little Patricia would have wanted, and making sure you're always tuning in, because I think there's so much there. There was a lot as children, you dream and you aspire, and connecting to that, I think is part of my self-reflection routine. And for me, I thought of that when you talk about like you wanted to be ice cream princess. But then it's also something new and challenging and a hobby, right? That I think is pretty nice. Awesome. So I know we've got folks are commenting in terms of the tips. One of my colleague Bernie's talking about roller skating. And then, just are talking about their own experience. I think for all of you tuning in, would love to, if you have any questions or hopefully, if anything that's working well for you that you want to recommend or put in the chat, resources. The other thing that I've been doing quite a lot lately too is the box breathing. I think, again, all free resources like Juliana, like you mentioned, the method of being able to take a pause and do the 4-second breathing in for 4 seconds, breathe out 4 seconds, and doing that for times, that then takes you back to calmness when you feel yourself getting ready to, when you're stressing or have high anxiousness. I think is another tip that I like often as well.
Definitely.
Awesome. Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up and I ask you our last question here?
No, I saw some of the comments, that person on LinkedIn saying, thank you for my work in the community. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Right. And there's, and we also have another one. Yes. Roller skating. Yes. Go back. It's so important. Yes. Do something that you love. And that might be, right, go back to being an inner child. It might be playing on the swings. It might be going down a slide. Adults can have fun. I don't know where the lines got blurred along the way, but we can have fun. So embrace that. Go out and try something new. That is where.
So we have a question on, do you do one-on-one coaching?
I am getting ready to launch some coaching. So yes, that is up and coming this year.
We put your website on the chat as well and your information so that folks can reach out to you as
Absolutely.
well. Again, the point of being able to share resources with our community here. My colleague Bernice has a really good question on, do you see the difference between generations and their approach to self-care and wellness?
Oof. Yes. Yes. Reason being, I do work with children as young as 5, all the way through the lifespan clinically. And I've seen a huge difference, especially again, even with my little ones, where they'll say, I'm so excited to come to therapy. This is wonderful. Like, I'm so excited to meet with you, Juliana. Where for folks on an older generation, they're still hesitant to come in. They don't maybe share that up front. So really, this younger generation is so aware. And again, I really do think it comes to the awareness of, we all have mental health and the ability to be open about those conversations. That is what is so transformative about this upcoming generation, that they want to have these conversations. It's no longer a part of their internalized stigma. They want and need the resources, and they're not afraid to ask. And I think we can definitely learn from them.
Yeah. And helping leverage that, that generation or those individuals that feel more comfortable to those that may not be, which, lots more. I think we can continue the conversation. Someone was talking about also community engagement and contributions. And I think that's so critical, is being able to have a circle, so a support network, a comunidad, right? That you're actively tapping into as an outlet to vent. I have my venting circles that I like to call them. But it's also my champion circles, right? Where we're constantly like championing one another, supporting. And I think those spaces are super critical. And while that may be family, it's not always family. It could be other, right? Able to find that, I think is critical. And so on that note, what are you most hopeful for this year?
I am most hopeful for the conversations of mental health to become something that is so common, right? That we can turn on the TV and there's accurate representation of mental health, accurate conversations about what therapy can be, that there's greater access and greater reach for our communities. That is my hope and really my dream this year, that again, we can all have these conversations more openly, more honestly, and we can be a resource for each other and connect each other to resources, that we no longer have to suffer in silence, especially for our Latinos and BIPOCs, that we can, again, openly be able to reach the resources that we need and that we deserve.
Yeah, I love that. And even on that note, I see a comment from Karen. Breaking generational traumas. It's okay to talk about how you feel. It's okay to cry, you know. It's okay to be able to express that. And so critical. Juliana, it's been a pleasure. We thank you for sharing your time, your insights with us. Those of you tuning in, please continue to engage in the chat and share this, as we want to keep the conversation going, so that, to Juliana's aspiration, all of ours, is that we are making it more of the norm, right? And so, todos, gracias for tuning in. Thank you to Juliana, y hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.